Hello chums, update 1.59 is here and 4 cars were added, and of course I'm going to moan about the shit one. I pretty much made this exact video 3 months ago regarding the Toyota CHR, and yet this Honda is even more insulting. So, the Honda CR-V is yet another plastic appliance in the same vein as the aforementioned Toyota and the Mazda CX-30. Depending on the implementation, these cars can be a jolly good laugh. After all, Gran Turismo has always been the series where you take a humble family car and spend money on it until you can outrun a Dodge Viper. Mercifully, the Mazda CX-30 fits that brief very well, with a traditional combustion engine setup that can be upgraded to 440 horsepower, which when coupled with aero and racing tyres makes the CX-30 capable of rivaling the fastest road-going hypercars, or even Group 3 race cars on pace. This CR-V is not that. The choice of power plant is very on brand for Polyphony since we got the LFB plug-in hybrid engine, which is by far the heaviest and also has the worst upgrade potential. They sold CR-Vs with a K24 for Christ's sake. Imagine this bloated shitbox with 600 horsepower. Even the 1.5 litre turbo would have provided a better platform, thanks to weighing the best part of 150 kilograms less. Polyphony treats hybrids differently to your bog-standard combustion engine. The best examples of this are the Honda Fit, the Toyota Aqua, the Prius, the CHR, and interestingly the Porsche 918 and LaFerrari hypercars. All of these cars have naturally aspirated engines combined with hybrid drive systems, and for whatever reason, Polyphony limits how many upgrades can be done to them. The two hypercars only gain about 100 horsepower over their stock counterparts, when equivalent hypercars are gaining more than double. The Honda Fit goes from roughly 140 horsepower to roughly 210, whereas Suzuki Swift Sport will go from the same starting point to nearly 400 horsepower, and that's with a smaller engine. Meanwhile, the hybrid Toyotas can only gain somewhere in the region of 40 horsepower over stock. So, if we follow the example of the Toyotas, you'd expect us to be able to upgrade the CR-V to something like 230 horsepower, if we follow this idiotic rule of thumb. But it's actually much more stupid than that. The CR-V is actually treated the same as a full electric vehicle, which in Gran Turismo 7 can only receive an ECU upgrade. For example, the Hyundai Ioniq 5N goes from 640 horsepower to about 680. That's still a rough 40 horsepower increase from one upgrade. The CR-V meanwhile gains 7. Our maximum upgrade potential for the Honda CR-V is 7 horsepower. That blistering total of 188 horsepower gives this overweight, oversized Civic the potential to go nowhere. I moaned about the Toyota CHR a lot for its lack of performance potential back when it was released, but if we pit them both against each other in a drag race, they're almost identical, but the Toyota actually has a higher top speed. I did see a fairly interesting comment on a previous video explaining how the lack of upgrade potential is realistic, because the engine in this Honda drives a generator which powers an electric motor which then drives the wheels. To translate, this car could have a gigantic V8, but there's a limit to how much power will be sent to the wheels by the motor. While that's fair enough, realism went out of the window when we were allowed to fit a 2-litre turbo into the engine bay of an old Fiat 500. It went out of the window when Bugatti Chiron engines became an off-the-shelf item to just shove into Nissan GTRs. It also went out of the window when I paid 15 grand for a 24-year-old Renault Kangoo. At what point do you prioritise realism over making a fun video game? Even if it were completely unreasonable to be able to convert the engine generator so that the engine drives the wheels in the real world, why not let us do it in the game? Or better still, don't model the variant that you can't upgrade. So, it's a crossover SUV which is polarising to begin with, just like the Toyota CHR. It has almost no upgrade potential, which defeats the point of including it in a game like Gran Turismo in the first place, just like the CHR. Well, it turns out the CR-V is also just like the CHR from the perspective of visual customization. As you may be able to see in the background footage, we get some of the most over-the-top wings, diffusers, spoilers, and machine guns in all of Gran Turismo, even more garish than the CHR. The developers tease us once again with something that can be made to look like a Pikes Peak hill climb monster, and yet it can be outperformed in a straight line by a stock Mazda 3. To me, this is possibly the worst car Polyphony has ever added to Gran Turismo, including the silly Vision Gran Turismo concepts. People complained when the Suzuki Jimnys were added, and yet both have earned their place. People complained when the Toyota Hiace was announced, and then they saw it had a V8 swap. People complain about the Mazda CX-30, and many still are, but it still drives very nicely. This Honda reaches new lows. Thankfully, we can take solace in the fact that the Suzuki Carry, Corvette C5, and Ferrari 812 are bloody brilliant. Thank you very much for watching. I hope you enjoyed my ranting. Please subscribe and feel free to shitpost in the comments below so I get some wonderful engagement. Take care of yourself, and ta-ra.